Well, good morning, Gila, and thank you ever so much for coming along and spending a bit more time with us to talk about yourself and what you do. So it's lovely to see you.
Morning. Yes, thank you for inviting me. Yes.
Yeah, you're very welcome. I expect you've been up probably quite a lot longer than some of the people. I shouldn't say that, should I? You might have all been up at the crack of dawn, but I know we've got some people in the States and so on. So obviously they'll see this later on.
Yes.
So
yes. Yeah, I was up up early in order to get my eldest on the bus to school, and then get my other two ready and school run, and then get back and come and chat to you.
Sort yourself out.
Yes.
So you've talked obviously about what you do a little bit on our 30-minute webinar. If you haven't seen it yet, then when you've watched this, you'll have a bit more of an idea of what that is and be able to go back and watch it. And this is just about getting to know Gila, what she does. If you're watching this on replay, do feel free to comment, #replay. Also, just to tag Gila in and say if there's anything that you wanted to know or questions you've got to ask, because there might be some more that come up now that weren't on the original recording. So first of all, Gila, about you really, why do you do what you do? Where did that come from?
Well, it's sort of a long story, so I'll give you the nuggets of the journey, if you like. I trained as a primary school teacher, and that was my full-time job, and loved it. And one of the things that I was very interested in as a teacher was movement. And I'd always, right from when I was little, like 3 years old, I'd always done dancing and gymnastics, and I got to quite a high level in both of those. And I remember someone saying to me, gymnasts always have neat handwriting, don't they? And I remember thinking, that's quite a bold statement to make. I'd got neat handwriting and I was a gymnast. Was that true? Anyway, I had to do a dissertation for my teaching degree, and I looked at children's movement and how it impacts on their handwriting specifically, but I also found out lots of other things about the impact on cognitive development and their self-esteem and confidence and so on. So I've always been interested in that, and my job led me into being a PE consultant. So I went and supported other teachers in teaching dance and gymnastics and so on. Running alongside me doing this, I also retired from competitive gymnastics, and for the first time in my life actually had a really bad back. And it's because I've sort of gone from 8 hours of training, a week or whatever, to sort of doing nothing. I was coaching gymnastics and I was teaching PE and dance, but I wasn't doing it myself. And that's when I found Pilates. And I went along to some Pilates class. I thought, I don't want to compete anymore. I'm competing against children, girls who are 8, and I'm 20 odd. And I don't, but I still wanted to be active. And I still wanted to do something that worked for me. And I found Pilates. And basically, it's been with me ever since the last 25 years. And the teacher said to me, you're really good at this. You should teach it. Anyway, so I got qualified and I've taught it, and I've taught it ever since. But the reason I got into how it's evolved now is I taught my Pilates classes, and I did them. And I did them all the way through, my children, having 3 children, and carried on, and I did them. And I would find that a lot of women would come to the class and they'd be, I just love the class, Gila. I feel so much better afterwards. I feel like I'm standing up taller. I feel like all the troubles of the day have just disappeared. I'm feeling calm, collected, back in control. And then the next week they wouldn't come to class. And then I'd see them a few weeks later and I'd be like, and they say, oh, sorry, I just couldn't get there. I couldn't get there because maybe they're working shifts, or they had a poorly child, or they couldn't get childcare or whatever. And I thought, I've got to make this. I wanted to make it easier for women to access. And then I reflected back on what had happened to me when my children were little. And although I'd been very, very active, when I had children, I just stopped. I felt my role was very much, I needed to look after them. That was my responsibility, and I needed to be there, and no one else could do it any better than, it was me and only me, and I had to have that control. And so I didn't do any exercise, and I felt very down, very fed up, and I was like, I want to get back to doing something. But I'd find a ballet class. I thought, let's get back to ballet. I'd always loved that. Let's go and do that. And So I'd found a ballet class, but it was like half an hour away. Then it was an hour's class, then half an hour back. That was 2 hours of childcare I needed in an evening, when I thought, well, really, I should be sorting out the kids' packed lunch for the next day, or I should be helping my husband with his bit. I should be doing something else. And I taught myself out of going, or I'd go, but I wasn't really there. I wasn't really giving it my all, because in the back of my mind, I was like, well, I should be doing this, should be doing that. And so I wanted to help women who had gone through or going through a similar thing to what I'd done in terms of exercise, who are busy, they're juggling careers, they're juggling family, and they're like, hold on, I just haven't got any time to do anything for me, and so on. And this is where the bite-sized Pilates that I do now online with people, with women, evolved. Because when I started realizing that actually I was doing little bits whilst I was playing with the children on the floor, or whilst I was brushing my teeth, or whilst I was stood in the shower, or whatever it might have been, that's something, hold on, I am actually doing bits because I'm fitting it in to my lifestyle. I don't need to go and do an hour's class in order to get the benefits of it. We do an hour because that's what you have to book out in the hall, not because you have to do an hour's exercise to get the benefit of it. So bite-sized Pilates evolved, and I then I knew that though wasn't enough from my experience of teaching the classes, and these women saying, look, your class, I love the classes, I feel so much better, but they still wouldn't come. And I thought, I know why now, because I've done the same thing. I have booked classes and not gone. I've taught myself out of it. I've decided, just to make yourself feel guilty, that you should be doing something else, and it's selfish to go and do some exercise for you because you've got other responsibilities. And we tell ourselves, I would tell myself, there's just no time, there's no time. Yeah. And actually there is time, and it's just about reframing how we're thinking about things and recognizing that we are just as important as everyone else. And so the work I do now is with busy women to help them become aware of that. And it's not just the Pilates that I support them with, it's that mindset and their habits and so on, in order to allow themselves, give themselves permission to say, you know what, it's okay, I am allowed to do this, and I am responsible for my health and fitness, and I can do this, and to take 20 minutes out, and to do it more regularly. And then, of course, you get the benefits of the fitness because you're doing it consistently, not once in a blue moon here or there. So now that's evolved into my membership core, which is really making a massive difference to so many women's lives, in realizing that, it's okay. They are allowed to do some exercise for them and look after themselves, and they feel so much better for it. So,
yeah, so that's really interesting, because I think for like you've touched on a lot there, but I remember that those days totally, and the exhaustion that you can feel, and then also you can feel like, well, that person's doing it better than me, and so I'm never quite doing it well enough, and how could I possibly be then therefore thinking of doing something outside the box, and I'm not even managing to do the things I think I ought to be doing. So totally identify that. And also the idea of having that, giving yourself that time and regularity, but not perhaps saying a whole hour. Maybe you haven't got a whole hour. I remember doing like pelvic floor exercises when I'd had two babies very close together. And actually a very wise physiotherapist saying to me, pick times in the day when you know that you can all. So I used to do it when I was washing up or cleaning my teeth, which you just mentioned a couple of things, because I knew that I always did those things, and therefore I could combine it. Yeah. But you're saying a bit more than that, because obviously that's great, but you're still not really concentrating on you and what's inside of you, because you're concentrating on cleaning your teeth or washing the dishes. So what would you say was an ideal, say somebody's got, they've had the first baby and it was okay because they could have a nap when the baby had a nap, but now they've got a toddler and a second baby. How are they going to fit into the day doing some work with you?
Well, there's lots of different things, and it probably depends on other factors in what support they've got. If they've got a partner that can just play with the toddler for 20 minutes or whatever. But it's about having those those boundaries and looking at your lifestyle and saying, sort of protecting your time and saying, right, I would like to do, 20 minutes. And it's so much easier to find 20 minutes of uninterrupted time than an hour. I'd like to do 20 minutes. So maybe partner can look after toddler, or, grandparents can, or there might be a time where the toddler's, I don't know, maybe going to nursery or something, or if they're still having a nap, maybe, or you get up in the morning and say, right, I'm just going to do it straight off. I'm going to get out of bed, before everyone else, the whole household wakes up, and I'm going to do that then. That works for some people. Or, at the end of the day, I think the point is, though, is not just saying, I'll try and fit it in. Because when we say that, we're not really committing, and it ends up not happening, and it just keeps getting pushed and pushed and pushed. Where it's actually sort of making an appointment with us and saying, right, at 10 o'clock every day, or different times during the day, on different days, that's when I'm going to do my Pilates. And to tell everyone else who in the house, that's when I do her Pilates. So they get to know, well, that's when mum or whoever it is, it does her Pilates. And you have a little space at yours, not with all the toys around you on the floor, or all the piles of washing around, or anything else. Just down the side of your bed or something. You don't need lots of room. You don't need lots of equipment. You just need a bit of space where you can just zone in and focus on yourself. 20 minutes, shut everything else out. So there's a few things there. Sort of think about your space, think about your time, ask for help, delegate. That was one of my problems, was that I wanted to do everything myself. And I felt I had to do everything myself. Otherwise, I was failing as a woman and as a mother, because that was the expectation that I'd sort of believed was true.
Yeah.
If you miss it on one day, if it doesn't happen, you plan, have a plan B, have a backup, and say, well, you know what, if it's not going to work, then I'm going to have a plan B. So if I suddenly, I don't know, my child's poorly and I need to sit and cuddle them, that's more of a priority for me at that time, then I'll do my Pilates, whatever, and have a plan B. We all need a plan B, and maybe a plan C or whatever sometimes when we're busy and juggling things. Yeah. But you've got a plan to back it up, and not don't beat yourself up. If you miss it one day, just go, okay, I've missed it, it's fine, that's not a problem, I'm just going to pick up again tomorrow.
Yeah. So would you say that the mindset part is almost like the first bit, sort of taking hold of the fact that you are worth it, that it is going to make a very positive difference? Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. The mindset part, it's looking at how you identify with yourself. Do you identify, if someone says to you, oh, tell me a bit about yourself, who are you, what do you do? I know I used to describe myself as, I'm a mum and I help my husband in his business. That actually didn't say anything about who I was.
No.
So it's just, do you identify with yourself as a fit, active woman who has plenty of time to do exercise? Because if you identify with yourself as that, it's so much more than easy. It's like, well, yeah, that's who I am. So I have got time to do exercise. Yeah. And it's just thinking, and thinking about your values, what's important to you. And I think when it's very easy to take your health for granted until something, your back goes, or you're suffering with neck, or you can't sleep properly or whatever because of that. And so, it's, yes, absolutely. The mindset part is so important.
And it's interesting because a lot of ladies, I mean, for me, when I grew up, I had this image of my mum who looked after us. She didn't work outside the home. She was there. There were 8 children. She was always mum. She was always there when we got there. I don't know how she listened to 6 children at once, or however many were talking, but she seemed to be able to magically answer whichever one it was.
Yeah.
And I know for sure that when I had my children, I did have quite a romantic image of what motherhood was and what I should be giving to my children. And I do think we can accidentally, by wanting to do all those things and wanting to give all of that, we can actually give our children a false impression of who we are, and the fact that they need to also respect, to learn to grow up to respect that mum actually does need time to refresh, time to get her strength. And actually they benefit, don't they, if you have that time to step aside?
Absolutely, absolutely. And I'm conscious of being a role model for my daughter as well, because I don't want her growing up. I can see her already. She does everything for her brothers, and I keep saying, no, they've got to do it themselves. Stop doing it for them. I don't want her to grow up and feel that she isn't valuable or important enough to look after herself.
Yeah.
And so I want her to understand that. And it is that expectation, and we put it on ourselves. And I think I had that. My mother was always at home. She was always there. She's always there. You can always, and that's wonderful for me. But I do, when we all left home, she everything was a bit empty for her, and that sort of made me aware of that as well.
Yes.
So yeah.
So you're getting into habit really for later in life as well, aren't you? Not just for now.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So if somebody wants to work with you, listening to this and thinking, that sounds really interesting, I'd like to know more, how can they find out more about you?
Okay, well, I'm on my website is gilaarcherpilates.com, and you can find me on Facebook and LinkedIn under the same name, Gail Archer Pilates, and YouTube as well. So if people wanted, I've recently just done a workout in the car. So, because one of my clients said, Gila, I'm always sat waiting outside swimming lessons or dancing lessons or something, and that's my time. So I've even done some Pilates in the car.
Oh wow, so, that's amazing.
So that's on my YouTube channel. So again, that's Gila Archer Pilates. I have a Facebook group, a free Facebook group called Bite Size Pilates for Busy Women. So that's you can find me on all there. So my name's quite unusual, so I tend to come up.
Yeah, well, after when we finish this, I'll post. Obviously, it's already live in the group, but if you want to go in and put in the comments your LinkedIn profile and anything else that tells people,
yes,
how
I'll
they
add all
can
that.
come in contact.
Yeah,
because that just gives everybody a chance to be able to do that.
Yes.
I mean, fitness just generally, I think particularly, it's true for everybody, but when you've gone into this sort of coaching world, particularly the virtual coaching world, you can be sat a lot. So, having sort of strategies in place where you do get up for 10 minutes in between each hour, or, some of my members in my shapeshifters, that they made a pledge last week that every hour they would move for 5 minutes.
Yeah.
Rather than just sitting, because some of them literally, they're at home, they're in a part of the world that they're still not really going out much, and so on. And they've just been sort of,
yes.
sad.
Yeah, exactly. It's good to fidget, keep fidgeting, because that helps with the circulation. Keep moving, stand up, sit down, go upstairs. If always park 5 minutes further away. You can do all those little things, can't you, to add a bit more movement into your day as well.
Definitely. Don't take the lift, take the elevator. Not on the elevator, take the walk up the stairs.
Yeah.
Well, thank you ever so much for coming along and talking to us again, Gila.
Thank you.
Do get in touch with Gila as well if you're listening later on.
Yes, any questions, happy to answer. Just pop it underneath the video, and I look forward to engaging with people and connecting.
Fantastic.
All right, thank you, Angela. Have a good day, everyone. Thank you.